Hi, I'm Elena. I'm from Leicester and the East Midlands, but I am based in Bath. Poetry scene in Bath is quite closely linked to other areas in the southwest, particularly Bristol. We have a lot of small nights in Bath. A lot of the poetry nights are quite heavily populated by the students, so we get a lot of student population, but we get people from right across the age span, which is really lovely. I'm involved in a night called Chimes Poetry Night, which is based at the Bell in Bath. You should come along. And we have an open mic, and there's always like new faces, but always regulars, and it's just really lovely. It's quite a welcoming place. Yeah, I think for me, sharing poetry is quite empowering. It's quite encouraging. And I grew up being very shy, so every time I do it, it's like I did that. And I always come away from it being like, am I proud of that? Yeah, I'm proud of it, even if I mess up terribly. But there's definitely always nerves. I think it's reduced with the time I've been performing, but there's always nerves, especially in new venues. So I write a lot about queerness and also my mental health, and a big part of that at the moment is grief, not just as an isolated emotion, but also connected to queerness, particularly like through trans identities and what have you. I also like writing about the world around me. I think it's really important. I think what motivates me in poetry is the fact that it is a way to be heard. It is a way to get your feelings across. It is also a storytelling device. So being able to document that, whether it is through a poem that is only for the page, or whether it is to be written, or whether it is private, is really important. So anything that is going on, I try and write about, whether that's for me or whether that is for the wider world. So I grew up doing quite a bit of dance and quite a bit of theatre. And as a result, I've always kind of been comfortable playing a character on a stage. So when I started to write, it kind of seemed like a natural progression. And then I went to a workshop and we were asked to all showcase something, and it was musical theatre. And I was like, there is no way I'm singing a song in front of people. I'll read some of my writing. So I sort of fell into, I guess, that performance poetry without knowing that it was performance poetry. And then started writing more, started reading more, started watching more. And when I went to uni, tried going to open mics and things like that, because I'd attended the Slam Ambassadors Midlands Masterclass, which is a mouthful, in I think September 2019. And then from that had been invited to perform at Unislam for the UK, the Young Poets Showcase, I think it's called, and kind of got the bug from that. So just kept trying to go and perform and listen and watch, and all of that. And I also, being born when I was and being a teenager when I was a teenager, documented a lot of it on social media. So also saw that and grew confidence of just sharing work to people that I didn't know by sharing it on social media. Performing at Unislam for the first time was absolutely terrifying. I remember the workshops, and I recognised some people from the workshops because some of the hosts had facilitated our masterclass. So I remember recognising some of their faces and some of the people we went along with. But actually performing in front of people was honestly terrifying. I can't remember how I did. I can't remember whether it was an okay performance. But it was the first time my mum also came along to that. So she saw the performance as well. So that's always quite special for me. And as I've been to Unislam in the years since, it's honestly still terrifying, but it's gotten more comfortable, and it's such a lovely group of people that I want to go back every single year. So when I have family in the room, I do sometimes change the poems I perform, just because it's one less thing to think about. I love them lots, but there is that thing of mums and their daughters and what they perform and what they don't, and sometimes performing certain things opens other conversations, so you just have to make sure you're in that headspace for it. So choosing things that I know that I enjoy performing, my parents, whoever, will be receptive to listening to, will enjoy listening to, and also things that I think that they're in the headspace to listen to, because I think that can be important, especially if you're bringing someone to a really new event and you're going, here's a poem that also includes you. It can be a bit of a punch in the gut, and not always in a good way. I think lots of people really inspire me in poetry, from the people that we meet at Chimes, from the first people that perform, from the people who've been performing for decades. But some of the poets who really got me into poetry were people like Dr. Maya Angelou, Kay Tempest. Since then, I've been loving poets like Ocean of Wong. I'm always interested to see what Toby Campion, what Jess Green come out with. Yomi Shode is incredible, phenomenal. And honestly, I could go on, to be honest with you. I'll stop there. But they're some of my biggest inspirations and people I keep coming back to. But I love hearing new voices and finding new people. After like Arvon and working with Deanna and Yomi, who were just fantastic and incredible and wonderful, and all the other poets on there, I think I just felt more concrete in that you don't have to do a certain thing in order to be considered a poet. Everyone's done loads of various different things, and for instance, I really love research, and I want to go into research and exploring how poetry and creativity can help communities and how it benefits communities and how it has already hugely impacted the world we live in. But also I love theatre, so exploring theatre and working with that. And it was just a massive like boost and also a massive hug. There were many tears, but also like lots of tears of joy as well, and lots of laughter, and lots of incredible cake. But yeah, research and continuing to perform and continuing to write, I think is what the future looks like. Yeah, I think the power of poetry isn't necessarily distinct from the power of words themselves. It's been said by many people that language is one of the strongest tools we have in creating change, in crafting who we are, in our identities, in moving society forward, in moving society in various different ways, whether that is in ways that we agree with or ways we like absolutely disagree with. And poetry is a tool that can be used for that. I also think that poetry, in its succinctness, in its conciseness, is something that is so readily accessible to lots of people, and it's something that can open so many doors and can welcome people into spaces, can increase empathy. Research, like there is research that has a link between empathy and poetry, has links between using poetry and poetry therapy to support grief, to support major trauma, as well as like just encouraging like children, adults, like anybody to be creative. And being creative, being inspired, having fun are just so important. So if poetry can be a gateway to any of those things, then I think it's really valuable.